Nebraska Cornhuskers thinking that they're going to be a hot team for 2024. Obviously going to the Big Ten with a couple extra teams and programs that are pretty solid. Obviously, Washington coming in from a really good year. You got Oregon, you got USC, you got UCLA, but Nebraska has a really clean schedule, and we'll look at it later. But, of course, when you start talking about Nebraska in 2024, you start talking about Matt Rhule in year two. Obviously, he had a big jump when he was at Temple and Baylor. Now, of course, the cover's not quite as bare as it was at Temple or Baylor. Matt Rhule, first year as head coach at Temple, 2 wins, went 2-10. Second year, 6-6. Third year, 10-4, and then another 10-win year in 2016. You're looking at Baylor, and his time there started at 1-11, coming in right after Art Briles and just kind of the debacle that happened towards the end of his tenure. 7-6 his second year, and then 11-3 on his third year in Baylor. So everybody talks about that big year two jump, but the real big jump is from year 2 to year 3. Now, cover's not quite as bare. There wasn't a 1-win team, 2-win team. Nebraska was 5-7 last year. Are they ahead of schedule of what Matt Rhule's been when he was at Temple and Baylor? Possibly so. So it might be that this year's that 10 or 11 win season because they already had the pieces there to begin with. Talking about the rest of the coaching staff, obviously Marcus Satterfield back as the OC, and biggest thing for him is that he's got to have better pieces around. Obviously, one of the worst offenses in college football have to be a lot better than they were awful in turnover margin. That's what really cost them in a lot of close games. 5 of their 7 losses were one-score games last year, and if they can just turn that around a little bit, and one of the big factors is going to be turnover margin. If they can get that rectified and not be minus 17 in turnover margin, they got a chance to win a lot of those one-score games and could lead to a big jump right here and have them in the conversation for not only a Big Ten, but maybe a playoff spot late in the year. Another big key for Nebraska is holding on to their defense coordinator. Tony White had a top 10 defense last year, one of the best units in the country, and they have a lot of returners, and that's Tony White coming back as their defense coordinator for the second year. And, of course, Matt Rhule trying to instill that black shirt defense back for the Nebraska Cornhuskers and instill a program of just physicality and guys are going to get after it. And they did a really good job of instilling that last year. I think it's going to do nothing but elevate this year with a really veteran-laden defensive front. A lot of their interior linemen are 4th and 5th year guys. Also linebackers, a lot of guys with a ton of experience. With Nebraska bringing back the 3rd most returning starters of anybody in college football, and then on top of that, stacking on a top 25 class, and a couple newcomers, especially skill guys. I think their fronts, offensive and defensive fronts, really senior heavy, tons of experience. Those guys are going to be solid ball players, know what you're going to get there, but they've got to have a little more skill, a lot more explosive players on the edge, and that's what they got in their recruiting class. A couple of receivers, obviously Rhule coming in, probably going to be a NFL caliber quarterback. For however long he stays in Nebraska, he's going to end up being a big-time player. So a ton of things to like about Nebraska. Defense, it's going to be one of the best in the country. Offense, if they can just hold their own, not turn the ball over, and be a little bit more explosive with a lot better, more talented quarterback and some more skilled guys around him that can make big plays. And Matt Rhule, maybe he's having that year 2 to 3 jump where they go from, bowl eligibility right there on the cusp of it to a big-time program where they're winning 10, 11 games at a time. We'll see what takes place. One of the biggest things working for Nebraska and Matt Rhule to have a pretty good jump, I think, this year is just their schedule. It's not extremely difficult. There are some toss-up games, a lot of them that could go either way, but you're avoiding Michigan, you're avoiding Oregon, and you're avoiding Penn State. So that's 3 of the top 4 teams right there as far as the odds. You do get Ohio State, obviously, probably one of the top teams, if not the top team in the country as far as talent. But right here, as you're looking at it, got a really good shot. UTEP should be a win. Colorado, that's the very first toss-up game, so there's one toss-up game. No telling how that's going to go. Colorado could be up, could be down, but playing in Nebraska, feel really good about that. Northern Iowa, Illinois, that's another team that could be a toss-up game depending on how Nebraska's playing. Purdue should be a win. Rutgers, a lot of people are just saying, hey, they're going to walk all the way to 7-0 if they can get past Colorado. Rutgers is a tough team. They're going to be a tough out for anybody in the Big Ten. Grace Schiano, have those guys playing at a really high level. Schiano, to me, is very similar to Matt Rhule, just a guy that's going to go up there and get the toughness out of his players. And Rutgers, a place that typically does not even have any tradition, unlike Nebraska, but they're going to be extremely tough out right there. Good thing they're getting them in Nebraska. I think that's going to be a win just because they get them in Nebraska. Very similar styles right there by both teams. You got Indiana before you have to go to Ohio State, so that's going to be a really tough one. If they can win those couple toss-up games, I think Colorado and Rutgers are toss-ups. Ohio State's going to be really tough. UCLA should be a win. I don't see UCLA really putting up much of a fight this year. I think they're going to be rebuilding more than people even think or know. Then at USC, that's tough. And this last 3-game stretch is tough. At SC, Wisconsin at home, and at Iowa. I really think SC is going to be underrated this year. I think Wisconsin's going to be pretty good. Luke Fickell year 2. Again, a coach that's just a solid dude is going to bring in tough-minded individuals and get after you. Playing them at home, that's big. But going to Iowa on November 29th is going to be extremely tough. Of course, 6 days rest right there. So pretty quick turnaround. And then have to travel to Iowa. It's going to be a tough task. I really think Iowa's another team that's going to be pushing for a playoff spot. Tons of returning talent, especially defensively. If they can get anything sembling an offense, they're going to have a good chance right there in the Big Ten and in the playoffs. So I really feel good about Iowa's chances this year to compete. That's going to be a really tough game there for Nebraska. Now, if you're looking at the absolute top, I'm really saying that if everything hits right, they could possibly go 9-3. I don't see them beating Ohio State. I don't see them winning with 6 days rest, going to Iowa. And then I know there's going to be another one in there somewhere, whether it's Wisconsin, SC, Rutgers. There's going to be another slip up there. I just don't think that their talent level is quite to a 10-win team, especially back half of that schedule. Good chance to drop a couple games there late. I think the floor, 6-6. I mean, I think worst case scenario, they're going to be a game better than they were last year, get to a bowl game, but they're going to look a lot better, especially offensively this year. My pick, I think they're going to go 8-4. I think they roll to that Ohio State game and they're 6-1. I really think that Rutgers game is going to be tough. Playing them at home is going to be advantageous for them. But I say 6-1. Then they drop one to Ohio State at 6-2, and they're going to drop 2 of the last 3, whether it's at SC, at Iowa, or Wisconsin. I think they're going to drop 2 of those last 3. Those are 3 really tough games. I don't see anybody really going unscathed with that last schedule right there. So for me, I say Wisconsin going 8-4. Let us know what you think about the Huskers' chances this year, where we missed out. Very senior-heavy team. Could end up making a run to the 9-win season. And if everything goes absolutely south, I think at the bottom case, they're going to go 6-6. But my prediction, 8-4. Let us know what you're looking for this year with Nebraska and where you think they'll finish in the Big Ten race. But I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you guys again in the next video.